It was a rare flare-up of anger against Hamas. The protests in January came as a surprise. The joint reflex of a people worn down by years of pressure. Hamas were by no means the only ones to blame. But after 10 years in power, people's patience with those administering their besieged land had worn thin. The final straw was the lack of access to electricity. 4 hours a day just isn't enough.
منذ 10 سنوات تقريبا واحنا بنعاني من مشكلة الكهرباء. مشكلة عويصة جدا ممكن يتأثر علينا يعني بصير بعد آخر النهار نقفل نسكر خلص ليش فيش كهرباء. نضطر انه نجيب ايش؟ شغلات بديلة لكن بتجهدنا بدها مصاريف ثانية مش قادرين عليها.
But the protests were seized upon by Hamas's rival in the West Bank, the Palestinian Authority. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas made his move. Abbas first slashed the salaries of tens of thousands of former Palestinian Authority employees in Gaza, who had continued to receive payments. Next, he cut off funds going to Hamas-affiliated prisoners in Israel. And then, he announced his West Bank government would no longer foot the bill for the electricity Hamas imports from Israel. A 40% reduction, meaning that Gaza's 2 million people will now lose as much as one additional precious hour of power.
فيش أول إشي بيأثر علينا إحنا الفلسطينيين اللي صح إنه ضياق وقطعان رزق يعني كل شغلنا بالكهرباء وإشي زي بس فيها بقى كتير إشي بديل وتأقلمنا على الإشي هذا طبعا والله صعبة صار يعني اللي يولع شمعة وينسى تحرق داره.
By night, many of Gaza's streets are lit only by headlights and the occasional small fire. In some cases, it's not just a matter of discomfort, but life and death. Dr. Ayman Eid al-Sabahani is a busy man. He's one of those on the front lines of Gaza's health crisis. It's not just a shortage of supplies that make his job difficult.
في حال لا سمح الله تعطل هذه المولدات الكبيرة ستؤثر وتفاقم معاناة المرضى بالأخص الأقسام الحساسة.
To make matters worse, Gaza's only power plant, which had supplied just over 20% of the Strip's power needs, shut down in April. It ran out of fuel. The Palestinian Authority got rid of the tax exemption on diesel, doubling the price as a result. The plant partially reopened last week after Egypt made an emergency fuel delivery. And while politicians within the ranks of the Palestinian rival governments stick to playing the blame game, the people of Gaza can only hope for a brighter future. Randolph Nogel, The Newsmakers.
Well, to discuss the electricity crisis and more, I'm joined from Ramallah by Abdullah Abdullah. He's a high-ranking member of the Palestinian Legislative Council under the Palestinian Authority of Mahmoud Abbas. And from Gaza, we're joined by Hamas's Deputy Foreign Minister, Ghazi Hamad. Gentlemen, it's a pleasure having both of you on the program. Abdullah, if I can start with you, sir. Terrible situation for the people of Gaza right now. They're getting less than 4 hours of electricity every day. Who is to blame for that crisis?
The one who is in charge. If you are in charge of any responsibility, then you have to be responsible for every need the people under your authority need. There is an offer that has been after 10 years of this terrible schism in the Palestinian society and the Palestinian political system, and then 10 years is more than enough. The people have been suffering not only today, not only yesterday, but for the past 10 years. We always put the blame on the occupation, which is true. The occupation is first responsible for this, and this is their design. In fact, they wanted to frustrate the people, and they wanted to keep the Palestinian territory divided so they can claim there is no one responsible authority for the Palestinian people to talk to. That's one. But then those who are in charge, who are insisting on staying on charge at the expense and the suffering of the people. Okay. What is their role in trying to reduce this suffering?
Let's ask a member of those in charge of Gaza. Ghazi Hamid, Abdullah says, you're in charge, you broke it, it's your fault.
It's not like the same. I think that he should understand that it's not on the base white or black, that Gaza is totally separated from the Palestinian Authority. I think there is many connections between that the Palestinian Authority is still working in Gaza. We have ministers are still working in Gaza. They have in the medical situation, in the health, in water. I think even some ministers coming from Gaza to the West Bank. So I think he should not say now there is no government. Hamas is not the government in Gaza. Now the only government is recognized is the consensus government, which was formed in 2014. It's still responsible for Gaza, but they are not acting in Gaza. So I think we should blame the consensus government, which is not acting in Gaza. Now I think that the crisis became more deeper, more critical when the President Abbas, he started to take some action against Gaza. He asked Israel now to stop supplying Gaza with 120 megawatt, which is the only supply for the people now in Gaza here.
Okay.
I think this makes the situation more critical and more catastrophic.
Let's take that and pose it to Abdullah. Why did President Abbas ask Israel to reduce electricity to Gaza at a time when the people of Gaza were suffering and only getting 4 hours a day? Why is the president trying to rub their faces in the dirt and hurt them even more?
That's not correct.
Tell me why.
President Abbas did not ask the Israelis to cut electricity from Gaza. President Abbas told the Israelis that the Palestinian National Authority will not be responsible for paying the bills of the electricity supply to Gaza, because those who are using electricity, they collect the bills, but they don't send the remittances back to the central authority. This is why he said then, from now on, we're not going to be responsible. And if they say that the Palestinian government is in charge in Gaza, that's not true on two accounts. Number one, twice the Palestinian government went to Gaza. They were not allowed to leave the hotels they were staying in. They were not allowed even to talk or to meet with the people who are working in their ministry.
Okay, so fair enough. That's because of a political divide. But hold on, that's because of a political divide, right? But when I spoke to civil servants when I was in Gaza, they get paid.
Why they formed?
They get paid by Ramallah. They don't get paid. Okay, but they get paid by Ramallah. They were getting 50% of their salary from Ramallah, from the Palestinian Authority. So clearly, the money was coming to civil servants from the PA, so it showed that they were in charge, sir.
This is, you mean they should suffer all remittances that paid to these civil servants? No, that's not the case. The case is that the authority to be responsible, the government to be responsible, it means that the ministers come to their ministries, they are giving orders to their ministries and following the plans for their ministries, but not to create administrative committees that are in charge of these ministries, and the real ministers in the national conciliatory government have no authority whatsoever on their own ministries.
Okay, let me ask Ghazi Hamid. Okay,
we have to be careful of what we present to the people.
And you've made the point, Ghazi Hamid. The authority in control of Gaza, which is Hamas, and I know. You differ in terms of the technical terms, but Hamas controls Gaza, and Gaza owes the Palestinian Finance Ministry millions of dollars of money, right? You haven't paid the bills. And that's why Abdullah is saying, Mahmoud Abbas is saying, you haven't paid the bill, we're not going to bail you out anymore. Do you accept that Hamas and Gaza owes money to the Palestinian Finance Ministry?
Look, first of all, I said now there is no government in Gaza. Hamas is not a government. Hamas, because the absence, because of the political vacuum, because the government is not acting, Hamas is obligated now to take its actions. And we declare many times, if the government want to come back to Gaza, it's open for them. No one stopped them. Now in Gaza, we have 3 ministers. They are working freely. No one stopped them. They are moving between Gaza and the West Bank. So I think there is no any allegation that Hamas hindering the actions and the activities of the ministers of the government to work in Gaza. Second point, I think you can ask Mr. Abdullah much of money that is gathered by the government from the taxes. If I can make comparison between the revenue and the expenditures of the which is done for Gaza, there is big gap. Now the Palestinian Authority, every month they gather more $119 million from Gaza. They just pay about $84 million for Gaza. 66% of them just for the salaries for people who are sitting at home. They just pay for Gaza about 30%,
right.
But they collect a lot of money. They collect the money from the commercial from Gaza here, but they don't pay for the services for Gaza. This is the big question now. Now the government here, or the people, or the de facto authority, you can call it as what's its name. They collect the money from people for the electricity, and we said frankly we are ready to convey this, to transfer this to the central authority in Ramallah.
Right.
But we asked the Palestinian authority in Ramallah now to sell fuel for the power plant for Gaza without taxes. This is the problem, that you want to sell the fuel for Gaza with 100% of the blue taxes, and this is very expensive for us.
So
it is over our capacity.
Abdullah, are you charging them high taxes and that's why they can't pay?
Listen, we can argue. I know Dr. Ghazi Hamad knows better than that, and I follow what he writes and follow what he says. But there is a very simple proposal submitted more than 2 months ago. In fact, on the latter days of April of this year. It is very simple. Hamas formed administrative committees, which is a government in practice. Hamas passes laws which is against, it cannot. It shouldn't. It's not a government to pass laws. It's not a government to build whatever you call it. Whatever. When it passes laws, it means it's a government.
We are ready to cancel it.
Listen,
I think
I
declare we are ready to cancel it.
Let me finish, please. Let me finish, please. The proposal was in 3 points, simple points. You cancel the administrative committees, number 1. Number 2, you allow the conciliatory government to work, takes its responsibility fully in Gaza, and it will be responsible for every need of the people in Gaza. Third,
we agree
go for
this.
Elections.
We agree.
Whatever. Listen, where is it? We asked, because we know from past experience, you say something in orally, but then in practice you do differently.
So you don't trust each other.
President
and
Abbas asked,
hold on.
Let me
finish your point, Abdullah.
my idea, please.
We officially,
before I wrap,
officially, we agree for this publicly.
1 second.
And also we sent different
President
messages to the President Abbas. We have no problem
listen.
Now to cancel and to dissolve the administrative.
Okay, Dr. Hamid, give Dr. Abdullah a second.
For the government to come back.
We have no second. Abdullah,
we have no problem for this.
Listen.
Yes.
Let me finish what I was saying.
Yes.
I said these are 3 points. Please answer in writing that you are accepting these 3 points. In fact, there was a larger delegation from Fatah Central Committee to come to Gaza to follow if we receive this written acceptance of Hamas.
And that's
what
you want.
Until this very moment, nothing has come.
Okay, and there's no trust, there's no reconciliation.
Fair enough.
Hold on, gentlemen, I've got to jump in. I've got to jump in because I've got to wrap. Dr. Hamid, I'm sorry. Ghazi Hamid, very briefly, 15 seconds, please. Yes.
Yeah, okay. Mr. Abdullah, I was in the meeting. I was in the meeting between Hamas and Fatah with Mr. Rawhi Fattouh, Mr. Abmair Hillis. They are members of the Central Committee of Fatah. We told them frankly, I have the minute now on my computer, and we told them frankly, we have no problem for 2 points or 3 points. First of all, the government, they can come today or tomorrow to Gaza and to take all the responsibilities, including the crossings, including the security and everything. Second point, we told them we are ready immediately to cancel the administrative committee, and we told him the third point that we accept the Qatari document. And we expected from the President Abbas now to take more action in this issue.
Okay, so you're both waiting.
And we did not receive anything from them.
Okay, good.
We have no problem.
Okay, so this is encouraging. It's encouraging in a way that you both say there's goodwill. You're both waiting for the other side to make a move. For the moment, Gazans are still suffering as a result of many things. The siege and the blockade, clearly, first and foremost. But the political schism between Hamas and Fatah is up there. I'm sorry, sir. I've got to wrap. I've got to move on in the program. Gazan people are suffering at the moment. We hope there will be political reconciliation. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure talking to both of you. Thank you very much.